PlayStation news and reviews.
Hello and good day to you, my beautiful friends. I do hope you are well. Welcome to episode 13 of crossbuttonvr, a beginner's journey into PSVR2, a show for those who want to share in our newcomers' enthusiasm for the world of VR. I'm your host, Laurie, but before we get started with the show, as ever, I would like to remind everyone that we are part of the Cross Players. So, if you enjoy what you hear, please do check out our other podcasts. Now, as ever, I am joined this week by my fellow VR noobs, Ben and Alex. Hi there, chaps.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello. Good weeks? Good weeks?
All a bit of a blur, to be honest, this week. Yeah,
I mean,
all a bit of a blur.
It's a struggle. I mean, what are these 5-day weeks all about? Give me well overdue a bank holiday.
Well, yeah, in Scotland, don't you get extra bank holidays, don't you? You get tons of bank holidays.
Aye. We don't like to work up here.
No. We're carrying you, aren't we?
Let's not get into that one, Laurie.
That's the most Laurie comment ever. Let's go on. 1 minute into the podcast.
No, I love Scotland. I know things Scottish. Good. Right, so quick. What's planned then? What are we doing on there? What's going on? We're doing a podcast. The agenda for today then, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about what we've been playing. And then as our main topic this week, as we alluded to last week, there were so many questions that were asked of us. We asked people last week to submit their questions. We picked the best one last week, but there were so many we wanted to return to them, and so we are doing so today, now, when you're listening to this podcast, whenever it is. So we're going to be running through those, so yeah, look forward to that. But first up, the news, and there is one major piece of news this week.
Is there?
Turns out, Alex, you weren't talking complete bollocks all this while, like we all thought you were.
Told you.
Were onto something. Alex Grubb strikes again.
Don't
Of
like
course,
that.
this is the news that there is the PlayStation Showcase that's been announced for next week, or as you listen to this podcast or watch this video, tomorrow, in fact, 9 p.m. on Wednesday. So that's exciting, isn't it? After, 2 years of waiting for a proper show?
Yeah, it's been barren, and I think the well has run completely dry, hasn't it? Of kind of Sony.
Other than
stuff,
Spider-Man.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
You need
Spider-Man,
it.
there's
Top up.
Wolverine, even, which is great because people try to make weekly podcasts about PlayStation stuff. It's finally
Something to talk
going to be some new things to talk about, which is great. And great for us in particular that they have said in their announcement blog post that it is going to feature PS5 games and PSVR2 games as well. So there should definitely be some new announcements for us to mull over in next week's episode, which is good.
And mull it we shall.
Yes, because I mean, you were a bit more. When I was talking about this before, I was very much like, no, they will talk about PSVR2 at this. They'll have to talk about PSVR2 at this. And you were a bit like, I'm not sure they will. I think they'll focus on PS5. And I'm like,
right.
no,
Alex
they will.
was right.
They will.
Alex was right.
I
Everyone.
don't remember disagreeing with you, Alex.
I'm pretty sure there's some audio and video evidence of that.
If anyone listening and viewing would like to comment on this video, just to say congratulations, Alex, for being right, or maybe send us a little video of yourself clapping Alex, just praising him for,
Yes, please.
for being right.
Little clap.
Well done, you can say. Good. And it's first party and third party and indies as well. So there's a whole gamut of things that we're going to be learning about, all sorts of things, which is good. This is like a proper one. It's not like a state of play where it's half hour and they just talk for 15 minutes about one particular
A whole
game.
hour.
Yeah, an hour long.
Just
over an hour.
over an hour.
Just over an hour.
Yeah. So big proper showcase. It's kind of the week or two before traditionally the E3 time, so it's part of that whole Summer Games Fest. There's going to be lots of other announcements. I suspect we will probably get, from a VR point of view, I'm going into my predictions now, I suspect we'll get some first-party PlayStation Studios announcements of some of their big IP that's been turned into VR, but there'll probably also be a bit of a VR sizzle reel. That's what I'm willing to bet. We'll have a VR sizzle reel with probably 5 or 10 new VR things, and it'll be all the people that don't do VR will be like, oh, I don't care about this. Hurry up, get past this bit. Show us Wolverine. But for us, we'll be like, what was that? What was that?
Got
what was that? Oh yeah, new stuff. Yeah, well, come Ben. please. We've had lots of new things to play. We are inundated by things to play on this damn thing. Too much, if anything.
Yes.
That's my only criticism of PSVR2 is there are too many good games to play on it.
We don't hear many people making that argument, but we certainly make that argument.
Well, you do.
Everything's new to us.
That's why you listen to this podcast, people.
Optimism, blind optimism.
That kind of positivity. Yeah, come on then. So give us a dream announcement from everyone, please. Well, before then, okay, go on.
You said some announcements of some first-party IPs for PSVR2. So do you think there's going to be more than one, like, big PSVR2 announcement?
Yeah, I think there'll probably be. Well, all right. I reckon. But this isn't predictions, all right. I don't know. I've not thought about it too much. I think we'll probably get a big thing. Like, I don't know. We'll probably get some ports of more PSVR1 stuff. I think there'll be a big first-party game, and then maybe something smaller as well. Just like a kind of there'll probably be an Astro bot that should be like their big thing, or a sequel to some of the other ones. What's that gangster one? His name I can never remember.
Blood and Truth.
Blood and Truth. Thank you. And then they'll probably get a date for Beat Saber. There'll be some big announcements from it, but I think there'll be one big killer app announced. And it's good because we're getting to that point now. We've been talking about this over the recent weeks where it's getting to this kind of now it's the big launch. So hopefully we're seeing adverts for it around the internet and around the place. You can buy it from other stores now. If they can now start to show a bit of a pipeline of software, then that would be good. And so my dream announcement is going to be pretty unimaginative. I'm going to get in there first with this. It's Half-Life Alyx. I think would just be what they need right now to really get people.
That seems to be the general consensus. So I did put a little tweet out and ask our followers and listeners what their dream announcement would be, and that's by far the one that comes up the most. So there's a lot of people wanting Half-Life Alyx, and it feels, and I think as we were talking about this, we mentioned this last week when we were talking about what our dream games coming to VR would be, and I was talking about Portal 2 and Half-Life Alyx, and I think that whole chatter around when Half-Life Alyx came out, and it was because the technology wasn't there, that it wasn't going in PSVR1, which makes me think it just feels like it would feel like a total misstep if Half-Life Alyx they didn't find a way to make a deal with Valve to bring it to VR2. It just seems like the most obvious thing to do, and the biggest and easiest one if they could do it.
Yeah. But that doesn't, they need exclusives as well, because if they just keep having PC VR ports, then that's going to be a problem for them as well. So if they can have some PlayStation Studios first-party IP turned into some VR experience, like Call of the Mountain, something else like that, then I think that's what they need.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of a dream, and then someone, I didn't have a dream, I didn't have a dream, but I was thinking about it, and it was in some of the tweets that came in, and then someone mentioned The Last of Us VR, and then I was thinking, I wonder if when they did that from the ground up remake, they were really thinking about this, and they thought, well, let's build a little VR mode alongside this, and then once we get to the right point, we can say, well, by the way, one of the other reasons why we did this is so we could build this VR mode, and here you go. How nice would that be?
Yeah.
You don't seem very excited by that.
I'm never excited by The Last of Us.
Yeah.
But how can we make you feel more miserable? Oh, just
put you in it. Yeah.
I mean, I could see there being some Last of Us VR content. I don't know that they'd want to just. I don't know how. I'm always sceptical when it's like third-party games just switch them into VR mode, because if that's not how the game was designed, it's never going to feel quite right. And VR games are so bespoke. You can't just change the camera and now it's in VR. I mean, you can, but I can't imagine it translates into a game that really speaks to the strengths of the medium. Whereas at least Call of the Mountain, it took that IP and that setting and that world and did something VR with it. I'm sure they could do something really, really cool with The Last of Us and really scary.
More of a spin-off kind of The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I always said I'd love to explore Jackson, the settlement they're living in at the start of part 2. I'd love to explore that in VR, because that's such a rich setting with so much going on there. So you could have, I don't know, you could be like the town sheriff trying to solve a murder in the town in VR, solving clues and stuff. So you could be in that world, but be completely different from the main game. There you go. Yeah. So you can have that idea for free. Please make it for me.
Cool.
So was that your dream announcement? Or?
It wasn't necessarily my dream announcement, but it was one that came into my head. I think. My dream announcement is my obvious announcement. We're just going to do this whole state the obvious again, because my dream announcement is we actually get Astro, and we get a new Astro, not a port of Rescue Mission, but we get a new Astro and say, and by the way, while you wait for this new Astro, here is the port of Astro's Rescue Mission. So you get the first one and you get a new one. You're like, yay.
Totally plausible. That is, I can see it. And also, it could be a stealth job. It's available now.
Yeah.
That'd be very exciting, wouldn't it? This time next week, we could be playing Astro.
Don't do that to me, Laurie.
That's just cool, isn't it?
That would be amazing.
It would.
Yeah, I'd be up for that. Very cool. So mine, again, I've tried to think a little bit outside the box. I would actually love to see a brand new Wipeout, 120 FPS, 4K. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to play it. Cannot
turn a single bend in GT7. Even in like a mini or something, cruising around.
But I would train myself. I would dedicate myself to overcoming motion sickness if this game was released. I think it would be I think it would run, because it's the style of it. It's kind of like, it's not going for hyper realism, obviously, like GT7 is. So I think that could translate into being like top fidelity, top speed, 120, absolutely blistering speed. You've got the licensed music playing, whatever it is. I can actually see them doing it as a live service game, because obviously they've been looking to produce more of those anyway. So you'd obviously get new tracks, new cars. There'd be a whole roadmap for that. But then I think they'd do a battle pass, kind of like the Rocket League one, where you're not getting stuff to make yourself better, but you're getting cosmetics, like for your airship. You're getting new explosion animations, new weapon animations, and things like that. And I just think that would be really cool in VR, and would be a bit of a surprise. And I think, following on from what you said about Astrobot, I could very much imagine them saying, and to tide you over in the meantime, here is a PSVR2 port of Wipeout Omega Collection.
Yeah.
Free upgrade, shadow drop. There we go.
And I feel like that one as well, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Wipeout Omega Collection didn't use the wands or anything, it used the DualShock, so that feels like one that's potentially an easier port than many others, because you don't need to factor in the new controllers.
Yep.
Definitely plausible as well.
Is that collection on PS Plus Extra at the moment? Because that's like,
it might be, actually.
Drop it, because if it's there, then you could get it for free.
Yeah.
Potentially,
and it's
on PS Plus.
And even if it's not, it's always dirt cheap anyway.
I wouldn't also be, and just talking about that, do you know how that we've now got rid of the PS Plus collection for PS5 games? And that just finished. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen some sort of PS Plus VR collection launched, just to try and push this a little bit more.
It worked, didn't it? For the first couple of years of the PS5, you buy this sub to PS Plus, you've instantly got a dozen or so of our best catalogue. Do that now with VR. It gets people over that hump of that initial investment. If they can instantly open up a collection of content that they can play at no extra cost, they've already got. It's, most people, I think, that buying the headset have got PSVR, and if they shouldn't, they need to get it. PS Plus. If they haven't, they need to get it because they need to play walkabout mini golf with people. It would just be like, pick up the headset. You've already got PS Plus. You don't need to worry about buying games on it at first. You can have plenty to play. I think that would really help people. And from Sony's point of view, it's going to cost them nothing. They'll make money on the headset, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Before we move on from this, there was one tweet that stood out when I asked for a dream. Right, I'm just going to read you this one. So Cold Dog on Twitter said this was his dream announcement. He went, all of these in PSVR2. Elite Dangerous VR paint app like Tiltbrush, Synth VR, Factions, Star Wars Squadrons, Killzone, Half-Life Alyx, Armored Core 6, Division 3, Far Cry 5, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Diablo 4 and Final Fantasy 16. So that's a big dream. And I hope your dream comes
Dream
true.
big. Dream
Dream
my
big,
man.
that's what they say.
Yeah.
Good on you. Why not? If you get, one of those,
Good.
that's good.
It's a result, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's a result. Final Fantasy 16.
VR.
Trying to picture that.
I just trying to imagine Death Stranding in VR, and Christ, that would be boring.
We'd just be like falling over all the time.
Just go for a walk in the real life.
Yeah.
Just walk up a mountain. But yeah, good for you. Well, yeah, so I'm sure we're going to be talking, well, I know we are definitely going to be talking about that. We'll be digesting all of the announcements from the showcase next week. So look forward to that. So next up, let's move on to what we have been playing. Now, Alexander, you and I have been playing one game which has been getting quite a lot of attention and seeing a lot of talk about this online. So would you like to tell everyone what that is?
We have been playing the absolutely exceptional Red Matter 2. I think you'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Laurie?
Yeah, well, actually, I've not played enough of it to want to whack such a strong label on it. But yeah, it sounds great. You've played more than I have. How far are you? I don't know.
I've got to, so I think I'm about 3 hours in. So I'm not a long way. I'm kind of past like the first main area and to going another little trip in my spaceship to another planet, into the second planet. So I'm absolutely gobsmacked by this game to a certain extent. Like you almost. Will you go first?
So no, I just want to say, so according to how long to beat, it's about 6.5 hours long. So you're probably around halfway in the game.
Yeah,
just to clear
that's
that.
about right. But it's from the very first moment, like you enter into this game, I think you visibly notice a step up straight away. Like the level of detail,
100%.
like you can, it's silky smooth, like that proper like 120 hertz, like no reprojection. Like you can feel it. You really do notice it.
The sharpness of the image as well is
Yeah.
like on a different level to other stuff we played.
Because you're like, a lot of the game is around, it's just exploring like these kind of abandoned space stations almost. It's very much, and you're kind of trying to piece together bits of the puzzle to work out what's going on, where people have disappeared to, things like that, like without giving anything away. And it's all about like piecing together the clues, and a lot of the clues are presented like via visual cues within the environments and working out the puzzles. But every item that you have to use is so beautifully detailed. Like you're looking at some old pictures with writing on them, and like if you compare this to say some of the other games you have to pick something up and look at, like I'm thinking it was kind of similar to like Dyschronia, and I'm not wanting to do a disservice to Dyschronia, but like when you compare and contrast it is like a whole different league. Like you're looking at this picture and you could believe you were standing looking at a picture, and it's the first time I've had this headset on and thought this is almost like that lifelike level of detail. Like and a little bit, and I was thinking about this as well, because obviously there's a lot of chat around the Miura and stuff and the headset, and I feel like I've got to a stage where I don't notice that anymore, and particularly in this game I definitely didn't notice it. And it's like the clarity and like the HDR images and the headset is just it's exciting, and I think that's what I said to you guys, like this has got me incredibly excited again about what this thing can do.
Yeah, just imagine what Sony can do, because this is a third party, quite small developer. What can Sony do with all their resources?
But even sorry, on you go.
I had that same experience because it's very in the opening settings where you can look out and it's the moon surface you can see, and that just looks photorealistic. And because you're on a space station, which is an abstract environment, I've never been on a real life space station, obviously, so I've got no point of comparison. So it's very easy to believe this is what it would look like on a space station. And the way that you can look up against the glass, and the glass is kind of dirty, it's got a smear over it, like some handprints have been over it. And when the decompression chamber fills with the sort of gas to decompressurize, it just looks so realistic. It's bizarre. It really does mess with your brain. You can believe it. So then when you step out in your spacesuit onto the surface of the moon, you do that kind of moonwalking bounce. You just totally go with it. It's amazing.
But I mean, even when you go beyond the looks of the game, like that level of immersion, and like you totally get that weightlessness. You feel it, like you do feel. And I mean, I know you can almost thinking, like in terms of motion sickness and stuff, but I think it's so well done and so smooth that there's none of that. Like I expected there to be far more, like, because we're still quite new to this when you think about it. We are fairly new and we're not really trained our brains as much with this type of game, but I was really surprised there was no feeling of motion sickness. When you are moving about quite a bit, you can be running, you can be jumping, you can be, and you're like, and I think that there must be an element of that to do with the frame rate. And I don't know if it is just that clarity in your brain, just dealing with it a little bit better.
Part of what also helps the immersion is your character is holding those two devices, which mimic the feel and look of the controllers. VR controllers. What are they called? The VR
Sense controllers.
Sense controllers. Thank you. It looks and the buttons are the same layout. So when you wiggle the stick in real life, you see your thumb moving it exactly as it recreates that motion exactly. And because it's got the finger tracking, it knows if you're touching the button, if you're squeezing the buttons and stuff, or your hands open. It's brilliant in that respect as well, and how you interact with things using those little tools is very clever.
The whole game is clever.
My question for you, Alex, is I've played it. I've been totally wowed by it. When people ask me what's it like, at the moment I'm saying I don't know. I haven't played enough to say, is it actually a good game or is it just a technical showcase? And that's what I need to understand.
No,
playing more of the actual game to see.
It's definitely a good game because I think there's too much in there for it just to be a technical showcase, because I don't know what but you've got to, but I think where I got to at the end of the first session and the kind of complexity of the puzzle where you had to like work out everything that was going on in the room to, I don't want to spoil it, you have to make something out of the red matter to kind of get to the next place, and then everything goes a bit different and something for the first time happens and the story develops, and I think there's a really good and strong narrative through it. And I think the puzzles are really well done, and I think that those control devices that you talk about are excellent. See, having like those pincers, flipping through the different abilities as they layer on, and I don't know if you've got to the stage where you get like a flare and a flashlight and stuff, and they add more and more into the controllers, like different things that you can do. There's more platforming and stuff that comes up to maybe get to the kind of problem solve to how you get from one platform to another and get through the areas. So there's definitely far more to it than it just being a technical showcase. There's a really strong narrative there. I think that how much of an atmosphere that it sets, I think that comes through the immersion, and it also just comes through like the sound design, the lighting, like some of the kind of experiences that the character has. And there's other bits where you start to have to explore, and you're maybe like crawling through like vents and stuff, and you properly feel like you are in that vent, and like kind of it's almost claustrophobic to an extent, but not properly claustrophobic. But you totally get that feeling that you are in a totally different space. And I think I'm just excited to see the rest of it. Like it's really got its claws into me, for want of a better pun. But
yeah, when I've played things like Jurassic World Aftermath, where it's very cartoony comic book style graphics and you're being stalked by this raptor, but it's kind of in comic book, it doesn't feel at all real. But playing, if it had graphics like that of this sort of level and it had that intense kind of horror, that sort of dread feeling, I don't think I could play it. I don't think I would be able to do it. I'd be like, this is not what I want to spend my evening doing. So, Ben, what about you? Have you got any sense that this is one for you?
No. Still, I haven't. I've watched a bit of the gameplay footage that we put on YouTube on when the game launched.
Excellent plug, thank you.
Hour of it, and that, I mean, that it looks incredible. But yeah, I'd have to kind of take your word for it on the story. Alex, I think you said it's probably not my sort of game anyway, possibly.
No, because it almost. I mean, because it doesn't make me think of Portal, because it's not Portal, and as it's puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. But like when, in terms of the game as you're going, and you've got this kind of like weird character that's talking to you, that's as if it's part of the station and stuff. Like there's bits like that. And like I'm not sure Ben would really like this, but
it sounds like you probably need patience for it, and I'm just not sure that I have enough. But is there any combat in it at all? And if so, what's that like?
Not that I have really got to so far. I feel like there could be some.
Right.
I've certainly not I don't think there's a lot. I think if there's any, it's going to be sparse, but I haven't experienced any yet. To be I'm at, as Laurie said, I must be roughly about halfway through.
It's not that sort of game, is it? It's more that escape room style gameplay.
Yeah. You know, I think it might be one I pick up on sale at one point. Because, yeah, it's got high praise kind of across the board. Everyone that's played it seems to love it. But I'm always a bit... Yeah, there's something about it. I don't like you mentioned, claustrophobia there, Alex. And I know it's not claustrophobic for the whole thing. But even if it is escape roomy, I kind of don't... I'm not a massive fan of that sensation. He says, having loved the hell out of Tears of the Kingdom shrines for the past week.
Have you had some bad experiences in an escape room, Ben? Did you just imagine you in on holiday in Krakow, getting yourself stuck in one for 2 days? All your mates like, where the fuck's Ben?
Help!
He's in that space station themed escape room.
He's got a portal gun. He's really upset. I don't know why. Nothing I can remember. Blocked it all out. But no, I'm glad you guys like it, and it's I'll be interested to see how you feel, Alex, if you finish it, Laurie, if you put any more time into it.
I will finish this game. I will finish this.
Oh, yeah,
well, even that in itself is quite high praise, because we haven't even done that with Horizon. So
I haven't played Horizon since day one.
No, same.
I will get back to it. We just too much content, too much excellent content to play. What a platform. I will come back to this because there's a question we have in the question block that I will refer to this. So I'll talk more about my thoughts for this game in due course. But yeah, I'm very much like it. And if anyone's on the fence on it and wants to see for themselves, you can check out our YouTube channel. We have the first hour of gameplay you can check out, and you can see our Choo channel.
And there's no commentary on that either. We decided to just go completely just leave it as just the game, because I think some people like that sometimes, and so
it's not the sort of game. I think if you had Alex prattling on during
what's this over here?
It's very atmospheric, so you just want to
you can laugh at my terrible puzzle solving in some parts. Actually, I don't think I did too badly in the first hour. I think it was actually okay.
But I think you could
should have put some Benny Hill music
sped up the whole video. That would be amazing.
First 30 seconds of Red Matter 2. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's move on. Ben, have you played any VR this week, or has it all been?
I mean,
high roll? There was another little indie game came out this week, didn't it? We've all been playing.
It's been a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, more than I even realised. We recorded crosscasts last night, and Lewis told me how many hours I'd put into it, which I was completely unaware of. Go and listen to that if you want to get some, an hour and a half of three people gushing about Tears of the Kingdom.
And me sleeping.
Poor Alex
getting increasingly grumpy.
Get me out of here.
I suppose you didn't just put your headset on. Just you record the pod. I'm just
should have done that.
I'm
play a game of golf.
Yeah, have a round of golf.
But mostly that. I played a very minimal amount of the new pistol whip level.
Okay, excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Because you ribbed me about it last week. Very difficult. It's actually, they feel like they've ratcheted up the difficulty a little bit.
I suppose that's what you want, though, isn't it? Because by now, everyone's...
You should be an expert by now, Ben.
Yeah, come on, Ben. Your favourite
There's
game.
a lot of... I spent half the level just squatting. There's a lot of ducking down. It's a proper workout, that one. And there's some new enemy types and things. So, keeps you on your toes.
Did you do many squats in real life?
I try to bust out, a couple hundred a day just to keep the old glutes tight.
Nice. Reminds me of Ring Fit Adventure. The old squats. Every time you get a squat, you're like, oh, for Christ's sake. Anyway.
I mean, we still have body combat to play. We really should try that.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes, we should.
Well, I have also been playing lots of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and it reminded me actually playing it that I had actually had some experience with VR before on Labo VR, playing the first Breath of the Wild on Labo VR. God, that's so shit. It's the worst. Don't ever let that be your first experience of VR, anyone.
It's amazing we went on from Labo to this, that we've even not just given
they're
up.
holding the Switch.
No
in front of your
wonder we're
face.
loving it.
Yeah.
It's so bad. So yeah, that's a nice VR segue to Zelda. I've made it relevant here, so we can talk about Zelda.
well done.
Let's talk about Zelda for another hour, Ben.
Hey, it's Resident Evil 4 all over again.
But yeah, I've been playing that. I don't want to talk about it too much because I always go. I've been playing a lot more of another Fisherman's Tale. I think at the very end, I was playing it last night, thinking, "Oh, I'm so close." I had to go to bed because I was just I was too
Is it
tired
that good, Laurie?
to play it. I mean, yeah, it's really good.
Wow, that's the highest recommendation we've had so far.
Yeah, that's its own scale. It gets.
Is it edging you to the
Stop building. But no, I will. The next time I play it, I will finish it. I'm very close to the end, so I will wait and I will give you my full in-depth thoughts, having finished the game next week, hopefully. But suffice to say, it's still really good. I've very much enjoyed it. It's really cool. So I'll talk about that in full next week. Anything else we've been playing before we move on to question block?
Probably worth mentioning Humanity.
Yeah, you've been playing, haven't you?
Yeah, so I have been playing Humanity. So I played a good wee bit of it actually. My son actually loves watching it. He's like, "Can we play the game where all the people just fall?" I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Just thinks it's hilarious. He's like, "Can we just watch all the people fall with the dog?"
Watch
I'm
the
like,
people die.
yeah, that's fine. But it's so good. Like, it's so like, I didn't play the demo at the time. I think I just ran out of time and I missed it. So I hadn't had a chance to, like, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd seen pictures of it and know you'd enjoyed it, Ben. But I hadn't played it, and it's different in all the right ways. Like, it is, you can see where people kind of compare it to Lemmings, because it is a little bit like Lemmings. Like, these people are just, there's just troops of these people, and you need to get them to the goal. And as the levels go on, gets more and more difficult, adds more and more layers in, different things, whether it's a jump, whether it's a climb, whether it's fans, whether it's just making them like they kind of. It just starts off quite simple, that the dog, you can just go into all the squares and you point them to what way to go and give them directions. They follow directions, you get into the goal, and that's fine. And then you get these goldies, where they're like the golden humans that you need to collect on the way, and then the more and more of them that you collect, that the more things you unlock. So you can unlock like different hats and stuff for the people to wear and all this stuff, like really daft things. But that kind of thing just makes it funnier in itself. And I did play it. I played it in both, like, just the 2D mode and in VR mode. And at first I thought the VR mode doesn't really add much to this. And then I thought about it again, but it does, but in a completely different way to I expected, because I think this coming from Enhance and like being Tetris Effect and being Res, and you can almost expected like get to take it in a different experience, like, so the VR to add to the experience, and it doesn't. It's not that kind of game. It adds to the gameplay. It just gives you a completely different perspective, and it's that perspective that really changes the game. It almost becomes a diorama, whereas when you're looking at it on the screen, you're kind of seeing it and you're scrolling you through the puzzles. But when you get into that 3D diorama, it almost changes completely.
Yeah, it makes you feel a bit more godlike, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you're got that full overview kind of thing. Yeah,
But
I get that.
it's just because it's just incredibly interesting, and you could just spend it for hours, and it's really forgiving. That's what I quite like about it. Like, so, like, you're not there as if you're time pressured to solve this puzzle, or it just lets you work it out. So the people will keep coming and coming and coming and coming, and you just need to work out how to get enough of them to the edge. Obviously, if you lose those goldies, then you're not going to get the points for them if they die, but you can still complete the level if you just work out what you're supposed to do and take as long as you want to do it, which is fine, and which also is very good. Once you work it out and you can do it, you can then do a retry with all the commands in the right place, and then you get all the goldies because it all works, and then it goes. So it's like,
Nice, that's good.
It is really quite forgiving in that way and quite accessible. And I'm really impressed. And I think you'll see quite a good community coming out of all the creative tools that they've got in that, and all the level creation and stuff like that. You get so many good things to tackle, almost like that whole kind of like Mario Maker type thing, where the community will
Yeah.
just go and build all this crazy shit, and it's just going to be fun to attack it. So I think that's got a lot of longevity, and I think it's really cool.
I need to start that. Definitely, that is high on my list of like things to do when I'm not, playing Zelda.
So
In
about
3
6
months' time. Yeah.
Yeah,
3, 6.
very cool.
But yeah, that's humanity. Give it a try. PS Plus Extra. PS Plus Extra included. Definitely worth your time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, before we get onto our question block, if you would like to support us, please do give this podcast a sub on the service you're using. Leave us a review too. Follow us on Twitter at crossbuttonvr and at the crossplayers. Check out thecrossplayers.com for links to all of our content and our Discord. And if you really want to support us, please go to patreon.com/thecrossplayers. For £2 a month, you can help us produce the show, become a patron, gain entry into our lovely little WhatsApp group. We ran a competition last week, didn't we, chaps, for people to win £10 of PSN credit. And Alex, I believe you have a winner for us.
Yes, last week's competition was just follow, like, and retweet us on Twitter, and plenty of you did it, so thank you very much. And the winner chosen at random was Chris Hackwood, so we'll be in touch with your picture, Chris.
Well done, Chris. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much for your support.
And Ben, would you like to announce this week's competition?
Yes.
Criteria?
Sure. Really, really simple one. So this video you're watching now, if you're watching it, leave a comment under the video. So, yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. Anything you like. Could be silly, could be one word, could be a whole essay. Anything at all, and you'll be in consideration for the £10 or $10 PSN gift card. If you listen to the audio version, go to youtube.com/thecrossplayers and you will see all of our videos there. So go to the episode 13 one and leave a comment. Easy as pie, as Daddy Pig would say.
We don't like being big in this house.
Does he say that?
Easy as pie.
Wow, that's a good impression.
Thanks. I do that a lot. Because I get called Daddy Pig.
No.
Oh.
Alex, go for a question. I'm just conscious of time here. So, Alex, if you would like to, please, we might not get through all of the questions we have, but if not, we'll save some and we'll do some more next week. It's all right, everyone. Don't worry. But let's get started on the question block. Alex, what's first? Come on, hit me.
Okay. Right. Let's go out there. What is your boldest prediction for the PSVR and VR technology in general for the next 10 years?
Nice, easy question to start with.
Yeah, let's start easy.
So this, I think, comes back to what I want to say about Red Matter, actually, is that what I really want the medium to, how it matures, would be it'd be much more commonplace to have kind of 2-hour, 3-hour long experiences that it's like you're stepping into a simulation of a whole another thing. Like you can have like a Blade Runner style thing where it just, you play out a very cinematic, very story driven experience that just puts you in the shoes of someone and gets you to live for a couple of hours in an adventure in that setting. It could be historical, it could be fantasy, it could be science fiction, whatever, but just to have a kind of almost like an anthology series of really high production values and just have these experiences that you can go on, and it's almost like you can have a bit of kind of almost like putting a film on, but just in VR. I would love to see the medium create that sort of experience as a really commonplace type of thing that we get.
That reminds me, I think something you might have said in one of the earlier shows that we did, Laurie, was having sort of shared experiences that aren't just necessarily games. So, like we were saying last week, just standing around in walkabout mini golf and chatting to each other is almost, it feels more social than just playing a normal game. I think there could possibly be more social stuff, and I'm not going like full Mark Zuckerberg here, but like I feel like there could be more hangout centric things in VR.
PlayStation Home.
That's
there's always that rumor, wasn't there, of PlayStation Home coming back?
Yeah, but in terms of more bold stuff, because I feel like that's just a natural progression. I mean, I feel like it's quite bold to say it's just not going to progress at all. It's going to stay how it's always been since the very earliest days of VR 20, 30 years ago. Technology will improve slightly, but it will always be a very niche specialist topic, possibly. And then a more optimistic view would be Nintendo will get into VR and then it will become mainstream because they'll find a price point that is good for families, and that's when it will become more of a mainstream thing, and that's when that will have a knock-on effect on the industry as a whole. So
you kind of saw it with the Wii U and their asynchronous multiplayer approach, where you had one person had the tablet, everyone else just had the normal controllers, and you could have those sorts of experiences. So you could imagine something like that, where you could have a PS5, one person's in the headset, can be like the Predator, and everyone else just has a controller on a split screen on the TV, and they're the humans. Yeah, that sort of experience.
Yeah. So I think it will be as successful as the Wii U. There you go. Also, I think you meant asymmetrical, not asynchronous. Just,
yeah.
I can just imagine the comments on YouTube. To get embarrassed.
You take no pleasure in pointing this out, do you?
It doesn't. I'm not. I'm smiling to cover the sadness.
That's it.
Good. Your point about the non-gaming experiences, I think I've said that in the past. I don't know why Sony don't let you go behind the scenes on a movie or go behind the scenes backstage at a gig, or a Sony Music gig, or sporting events, being the manager's dugout. There just seems so many non-gaming really strong applications for it. Like if you could watch the FA Cup final from the best seats in the house, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. You almost feel like the Champions League final, because like PlayStation sponsors the Champions League. You're like, that almost feels like a missed opportunity. Like exclusively on PSVR2, you can watch this game if you have a PSVR2.
Put us in a chair in the stadium. They only need one camera for everyone around the world that wants to watch it.
I'm sure I remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it was one of the Champions League final, and I remember watching it on. It was on a Pixel phone when Google brought out, was it the Daydream thing or something? Like they did a mode for that. It was YouTube VR. They had it. So I mean, it just seems like all those things just feel like easy wins. Like maybe maybe Sony just don't have the technology there to do it themselves. Maybe that's the thing, but who knows?
Is there a VR mode in Fortnite on any platform?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of, but that's kind of like, again, a natural progression. Like they're doing a first person mode, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm sure that's coming.
They already do like concerts and movie premieres and things like that. There's no reason why that can't be this next phase. And Fortnite in VR would, if that's one thing that's going to make the platform blow up, that would be it, right? Biggest game on the planet.
Well, we'll see what Among Us can do, which is a similar sort of very popular multiplayer game.
Indeed. Good question.
Yeah. Right, next question.
Well, hold on. Are you going to answer that one?
No, I'm just question master.
No, you're not. Okay.
Yeah.
Did we say who the question was from?
Oh, sorry, that was from Max UT on YouTube. So thank you, Max. Next question comes from apparently Luke Copper, but I think it's Luke Cooper. I think that's just some bad typing. And I think this is quite an interesting question to what you've just mentioned, Laurie, as well. So, do you think VR would be more successful if you have multiple headsets attached and use at the same time? As a non-VR owner, the thought of having a second person using a normal controller or having to play past the headset over time and time again in multiplayer games feels like a real drag. Has this impacted you not being able to or wanting to play games like Walkabout, mini golf at home and not online with each other?
Yeah, it is a problem for the medium, isn't it? There is no getting away from that. When you put your headset on, it's amazing because you drown out all other distractions. You are fully immersed in what you're doing, but that does mean that you drown out all of your family or friends or whoever you live with. You're completely shutting yourself off from them as well. So it is a very inherently antisocial, in-person type thing.
Yeah, but then on the flip side of that, if I had someone at home to play a game with, would I want to then go into a headset to do it? Like, there's plenty of games you can sit on the couch and play a co-op. Like, VR's just not that experience. So, like, VR is that more multiplayer experience for people that you're not necessarily with. So, I mean, I don't think I would choose, if I was going to sit down and play a game with someone in my house, to go and play a VR game.
No, but I think what Laurie mentioned about the asymmetrical multiplayer was a good point, because I think games like Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes would be a great one, right? Where you're all you've got one person with the VR headset on, and everyone else in the room is working with them, but obviously, you know, they're having a different experience but playing the same game cooperatively. So there are games like that. I think cost wise, having more than one headset is probably never going to be feasible unless, as we said, Nintendo get into the game, bring the price down, make it, you know, consumer grade stuff, and suddenly everyone in the house wants one. That's one option. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're right, Alex. I think it is just inherently a solo activity because it is just isolating, putting a head on and shutting the world out.
And it's not even like, if you share a house with someone and you just got the living room. Like, I've been playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom this week, and my wife's quite happy to sit there and she'll be watching something on the iPad or reading a book, because you still have that. You can still hang
still haven't
out.
told her the Switch is handheld, no, Laurie. Still hogging the fucking TV. You bastard.
She's reading a book.
No, love, you watch the TV. I can just play this handheld. Don't you worry. It's fine.
Surely the TV she's
Shame
watching
on
on the iPad's handheld, and that screen's bigger than the Switch, hey? So?
Wow. You rule with an iron fist in your house.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But you can have that. You can still be kind of companionable, even though you're doing your own thing. You're still just hanging out together. Whereas you can't sit there. She's watching TV and you're sitting there on VR next to her. It just would be weird. It just feels odd because you can't. I mean, you're essentially doing the same thing, but you can't just turn around and just talk to each other. Still, you can't say anything because if they try to talk to you, you're not going to hear them. You know, you have to annoy you by tapping on the shoulder and stuff.
You just can't have a sensible conversation. Like, even if you keep one earphone out and your wife just goes, I'm just doing the food shop. Do you want
you put the pass-through on and you look at them. You're like,
you just look at them like,
take your headset off. Why? I can see you.
I can see you.
I'm not talking to you like that. Take the headset off. Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I say to her, why don't you just play some asymmetrical symmetrical multiplayer games with me? She says, what?
Yeah.
So,
good question, Luke.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you,
the
Luke.
answer is you don't want to be sociable if you've got a VR headset, or not with people in your
fair.
house. It's about escaping the people in your house, not about playing with them.
And I think if you are on the fence of getting one, I think you do need to be realistic and say, if you're not prepared to kind of carve out that time alone, away from the people you live with, then it's probably not the tech for you, and that is going to hold it back as a technology, as an adoption piece until it becomes so cheap and mass market that everyone could just have one as a pair of, like you would with 3D glasses at home. That didn't take off either, but in that sort of thing where it's that easy to put on. Until that gets to that stage, then it's a solo activity, I'm afraid.
Yeah, indeed. I reckon we've got time for one more question.
Oh, go on.
Pick us a good one, Alex. No pressure.
Right. We'll leave. I think we'll leave Phil's question to next week after we've had the showcase, because I think we could give a good answer to that after we have the showcase. So we'll leave that for next week. So let's go with Chris Hackwood, winner of this week's competition. Congratulations again. What has been the most surprising game in VR that you didn't expect to like but grew to love? He's given his examples. So GT7 was his. He loved arcade racers but not hugely into Sims. He tried GT7 and found having it in VR made all the difference. Being able to read the road really helps. So what game has probably surprised you the most in VR, I think, really is a question here, isn't it?
It's a good question. It's a good question.
I'd probably say Synth Riders.
That's
just
what I was
because
thinking.
I'm very much sort of story games. I've never really been one for these kind of high score chasing games. And even like looking at Beat Saber, it doesn't look like something I'd be too bothered about playing. And I'm sure I'll love it when I give it a go. But playing Synth Riders, I was not expecting anything much at all. And first song just totally blew me away about how fun and how it makes you feel, that experience of just connecting with the music and the movement. That's the one I think that really surprised me, just how much I liked it.
I think, I don't know, Ben, if you're ready to answer, because I'm happy to answer this question and steal Chris's answer, because I think GT7 was probably the one for me, because you guys both know I didn't like Gran Turismo 7. Like it
sold it to me.
Like, yeah, I sold it to you before VR came, because I'm like,
price.
then I bought it again. Like, that's just, but it just, I thought I found it incredibly boring. Like, there was just something about Gran Turismo 7 that just did not click with me. And in VR, it is a totally different ball game. Like, so I think it really surprised me as well. And I think it is that whole thing about reading the corners and properly like feeling like you're driving, rather than being like, oh, I'm just going around this track. Oh, this is so monotonous. Oh, this cafe shite. Like, but like when you're
I love the thought that that's just your internal dialogue. It's
This is why this is why I don't do commentary on videos. But I think when you're experiencing it in VR, and this goes back to this whole thing we say all the time, it's so difficult to sell VR to someone without just plonking that headset on them and telling them to play it. Like, it's just so difficult, but that experience really excels in VR, and it really lifts Gran Turismo to something incredibly less boring.
Well, I like...
Put that on the box.
I like GT7. I see what you're saying. It is quite inherently a bit dull, especially at first when you just have the slower cars, but I find it so... the loop of doing a race, winning more cars, doing more races, doing more cars, tuning your car, I find that loop really satisfying and kind of relaxing. So I really liked it before VR, but playing it in VR is just like something else entirely. It really does elevate it. It turns it into something much more exciting, I feel.
Agreed. Too exciting. My pick, I think the one that surprised me most was Moss. I've only played book 1 still. I think we've all still only played book 1. But I think in my mind, when I'd heard the name Moss, I just thought, I don't know. It sounds rubbish. and literally judging a book by its cover, I was like, oh, that's a cool.
I see what you've done there.
Oh, yeah, I did. And yeah, I just thought it would be kind of a gimmicky 3D platformer. I don't know. I couldn't imagine it being good, and then putting the headset on and straight away just falling in love with it because of how magical it feels and how polished it is. It's just a really, really good game that's like, yeah, you couldn't do it in non-VR, and it is that's easily the biggest surprise for me, because I was all set to dismiss it as a kind of cheap and cheerful 3D platformer, but it's got far more heart and depth and gameplay and everything else. Magic. So yeah, Moss.
Lovely. Well, I'd love to carry on doing more questions. I stay here all night doing questions, but I have to get back to Tears of the Kingdom, I'm afraid. So we better leave it there. I can see Ben is itching to get back to Zelda as well.
I mean, we're not playing golf this week.
Well, I mean, you can, but
by yourself. I could be tempted, Alex.
Oh, don't.
Or Humanity. I might start Humanity.
No, come play golf with me.
Let's face it, I'm going to play Zelda, aren't I? Who are we kidding?
So yes, so let's wrap things up there. Until next week, I hope everyone enjoys the showcase. Thank you again for listening, everyone. If you have enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you could please give us a review, share it on your socials. Share it on your socials. Yeah, share a link to the episode.
You're asynchronous.
You're asynchronous. It's been a long week, Alex. All right. If you fancy getting a bit more involved with our fellow players, please do not hesitate to drop into our Discord and say hi. Thank you to everyone that's done so already. It's great seeing so many people joining our Discord and getting involved in the chat there as well. Last but absolutely not least, once again, thank you to our patrons for supporting the work we do. We love you all. I've been your host, Laurie. These two have been Ben and Alex, and we will see you again next time. Until then, it's goodbye.